Well, welcome everybody to the session about spatial planning and land use management. Today we have a little bit less than 1.5 hours. Well, I will first introduce myself. I will be chairing this session. I'm chair of Commission 8, Spatial Planning and Development, and I'm Marije Lausma. And Walter de Vries is the rapporteur of this session. So for me, he's in the middle of the of the screen. I'm not sure if you see the same. Well, let's have a look at the presentations. We have 5 presentations scheduled this afternoon. And well, they all address a different aspect of spatial planning. First, we have the presentation of Walter de Vries. He will give 8R framework for responsible land management and will tell us more about this. Then we have 2 presentations focusing more about the implementation of spatial planning, really focusing on interventions such as land acquisition or illegal confiscating based on a zoning plan. Well, the land acquisition is presented by Relika Piet from Estonia, and the legal confiscating based zoning plan is presented by Jakub. And then we will have last 2 presentations about I would say more the planning part in urban areas, about city transformation, how that evolved over 40 years, presented by Semra from Turkey, or actually she's based in Germany at the moment. And then we have finally a presentation about integrated land and water management in the recreational function of the city by Mirek Belej. So this is the short introduction. We will first have the presentations of the 5 presenters, and I would like to ask you to stick to about 10 minutes per presentation, and then we will have a panel discussion where also the audience is invited to participate. You can, to the right-hand side, you can see a Q&A where you can post the questions, and then we will keep an eye on the questions and make sure that we will involve the questions in the panel discussion. Well, for now, we started a little bit late. My apologies for that. But then I would suggest to first give the floor to Professor Walter de Vries. He is based in Germany, professor at a technical university in München. And his presentation will be about the testing and improving the 8R framework of responsible land management to assess major land interventions. And Walter, please, the floor is yours. You can share your screen and the presentation yourself. So yeah, please go ahead. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Right, common mistake, yeah. Good. I thought I was sharing already, but I don't see it myself at the moment. Are you seeing it?
No, I'm also not seeing it.
Okay, then maybe that was because I did 2 things at the same time.
I think you need to confirm that you will share your screen. First, select the screen you would like to share and then confirm it again before it will be broadcasting.
Yep, that's what I'm trying to do. Yes, are you seeing something now?
Yes,
Okay,
excellent.
Good. I'll try to do it shorter then to keep up with time. Yeah, thanks everybody. Yep. My name is Walter de Vries.
Sorry, Walter, perhaps you could put it in the presentation mode. It's now still with the slides to the left, the overview.
I thought I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Walter de Vries from the Technical University of Munich, and my presentation is about the so-called 8R framework of responsible land management. What is this? It actually came out of an idea that many people speak about sustainable, appropriate, fit for purpose, and also about responsible land management, land administration, land interventions, land governance. But very often the term responsible is not specified. So my interest was, how can we specify this this normative term, responsible, in more details? And we tried to do that in an earlier paper already from 2017, where we said actually responsible needs to be deconstructed into 8 aspects. And these 8 aspects are responsive or responsiveness, resilience, robustness, reliability, respect or respectedness, retraceability, recognizability, and reflexivity. So these are all also terms in itself, but these terms can be specified more. We've done that in the paper and in subsequent papers in more detail. So there is a kind of framework with indices and with all sorts of questions, but in general, these 8 R's look at the questions like this. Like responsiveness is, to which extent does it address the current needs? Does it address views of stakeholders? And is it also responding to urgency of needs? Resilience is the question of to which extent it ensures or creates the sustenance of societal structures so that it doesn't disrupt it. And it also avoids major disruptions. So for all these 8 R's, you can actually put up a number of questions which you can evaluate if you want to evaluate, is a intervention in land or a change in land matters, is it responsible, yes or no? And the
Walter,
idea is...
May I please interrupt you, because I'm just checking now, and the presentation is still on the first slide. It's not going to the second or the third. So now it's going to the second, yes.
Okay, so
but
for some
still
reason
not in presentation
mode.
Yeah.
Then I just leave it like that. There are only 4 slides, just to avoid the further problems there.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's like this. The 8 R's are 8 terms which we can each evaluate through a number of questions. And we evaluate that for certain interventions in land. So changes in land matters. And these changes can be physical changes, where you reshape maybe parcels or reshape landscapes. These can also be legal changes, where you have a transition in the legal status of the land. And it can be societal changes, so the way that people deal with the land in itself, or economic changes for that matter. So there can be lots of interventions in that land. Now, we try to evaluate to which extent this framework, which we designed and tested already in earlier cases, individual cases, to which extent this framework is meaningful and useful to test this for certain interventions. And essentially, and that's also in the paper, we tested it for 3 types of major interventions. And major interventions which are taking place worldwide. The first type is large international airports. Why that choice? Well, it's actually such that even that was obviously before the COVID crisis, many countries are creating new airports throughout the world, including in Germany. Already for a long time in Berlin, they want to have a new airport. And all of the time, many things go wrong with that. So the question is, was this a responsible decision and also a project? Another type, which is very often controversial, is major bridges. And I'm not talking about a bridge over a particular river in itself, but either a bridge between countries or a bridge uniting countries or uniting certain parts of countries. Major interventions which also have a symbolic meaning. And finally, also the construction of new capital cities. One prominent one, which is currently debated, is the new capital city in Indonesia, but there have also been other capital cities throughout the world, which are also a major type of re-intervention into land. Now, we wanted to test to which this framework is relevant and also to which this leads to new insights. And essentially, in this paper, I describe a couple of issues related to the framework itself. During the test, and that's what we also find with other assessments, is that especially impacts and outcomes are often difficult to assess immediately because the impacts may only emerge after a long time after the project intervention. So, for example, when we look at new capital cities, obviously the actual impact may only come after 20 or 30 years where you really see what is happening. And some capital cities have really developed, others have actually not developed at all and become almost dead towns or completely unused towns. So there you get some tension between did it actually respond to certain needs? The responsiveness is thereby an issue, and maybe the respect which the development of a new city may have, with all the monuments, with all the symbolic artifacts, may actually be well appreciated. And from that perspective, it may be considered responsible, but from the perspective of responsiveness, actually may not be very responsible. But still, that tension is difficult to assess. So the 8R framework is perhaps more appropriate for assessing short-term and observable impacts, such as expropriation, eviction, or relocation, where we can really see the direct effects of the spatial expansion or certain environmental effects or negative socioeconomic externalities. And what is often the case in many of these large projects is that the degree of responsiveness and reflexiveness is often limited in many of these projects. And by that I mean that often it is questionable to which extent the project designers have taken this urgency of the need and really the needs of the stakeholders sufficiently into account. And the issue of reflexiveness is, did they actually come back on their decision? Was it actually a good or bad decision? And did they change in the course of the project, maybe the decision or maybe the type of project? Very often the project runs on and it is no longer responding to needs. And also there was no point in time that they actually tried to stop it or maybe revise it at some point in time. So that completes my 10 minutes. Thank you very much, and hope that we have some questions or that we can use it for further discussions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Walter, for this presentation. I read your paper, quite extensive, so you shortened it down to only 3 slides, which is achievement in itself. So we will have time for some questions and some discussion in the panel. At least I do have some questions for you, but we will leave it for the panel. Let's first move to the next presenter, to Relika Piek. She's based in Estonia and involved in the Rail Baltica project. And she can tell everything about the land acquisition and the strategy in the project. So, Relika, please, the floor is yours. And I would also like to ask you to share your screen or the presentation and broadcast it live in this session. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I started sharing.
Let me check. I don't see it yet. Apparently, you have to press 2 buttons. Walter, you are experienced, so please, you can help.
Yeah, you have to do the same thing twice for some reason. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you mean first select your presentation screen and then push the button to really broadcast. It's not yet sharing, so.
I can see the buttons share.
Yes, they're in the bottom of the screen.
Share screen.
Yes.
Share screen.
Yes, and then you have a pop-up where you can select your full screen, or you can select a dedicated program like PowerPoint where we have opened your presentation.
Maybe I have to wait a little.
Well, or just activate the PowerPoint presentation so that it's included in your in the share screen pop-up. Perhaps I'm not sure if Jan Spijkerboer, do you have the presentation as well? Otherwise, you can try sharing your screen while Relika is giving the presentation.
I will try.
Okay. Yes, it seems that it's, oh yeah.
Does it work?
Well, we do see your verkenner.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It takes
okay,
time.
it has to open.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, okay.
It has to take a long time before it is opened. At my screen, the PowerPoint is starting up, so I don't know where it takes a long time to open it. I think I try it again, but it won't stop. Maybe it is better, Maria, that somebody else is now trying to start it up, I think.
Yes, we can switch presentations, that we move on to the next one, but I have to see if I have to check also the technical moderator if he could invite Jakub to the stage, because he is here, but I don't see him on the stage.
I will.
I'm here, yes.
Yeah,
there is Jakub. Yeah.
Yes, I am here. May I start?
Excellent. Yes, we can try, Jan, so you can have check and open your window already beforehand for the next. Then we now first switch to Jakub, to your presentation. And that's the presentation is about legal confiscating based on zoning plan in Turkey. So let's see. I hope you know how to share your screen.
I'm trying to share my screen. If I do this, but there is a problem. I can solve it. Yes.
Because I do have your presentation. I think no.
I succeeded. If you see my presentation, I'm ready.
Not yet. So you have to press again, really, to start broadcasting.
I did it just before.
Okay.
In my screen, I could share my screen to all of you.
Okay.
But you cannot see anything.
Not yet.
Not yet.
It takes time to open it. So
yes, I am ready, but it's related to stream speed.
Okay.
I shared, but I'm not sure you are seeing me or not. I did it, but yes,
Yes, now it's sharing.
Yes.
Okay, but now this is the problem. You should close Hopin itself. So you should only have the StreamYard open.
Yes, I will do it now. Now, could I do it?
It takes a little bit time before you see it in real.
Yes, are you sharing your screen?
Yes, of course. I shared it.
Is it a very large file or not?
Not large file, standard PPTX file.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you have many pictures included, it might, well, take 10 MB or which might take some time to load.
I don't understand what is the problem, but
Mariah, would be the suggestion that I already found the PowerPoint ready now, that I try to share my screen. So
Yes.
the presentation will start.
Yeah. Okay, then we try to switch again to the Rail Baltica project. Yes, there he is.
Okay.
And then Relika will give the presentation, right? So just mention when Jan has to go to the next slide. And Jan, could you please enlarge or put it in the presentation mode?
Yeah.
Yes.
It will come. It will come.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes. Okay, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again. So this is a collaboration with Jan and me about the Rail Baltica, and it is a very challenging land acquisition project.
Welcome to Rail Baltica. What is it? A much-needed European gauge railway and a new economic corridor to be launched in 2026, connecting the largest Baltic cities, seaports and airports, carrying passengers and cargo safely and reliably within Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania and further on. But Rail Baltica is part of something much bigger. A gap is bridged, reintegrating the Baltics back into Europe, so that people and freight can finally travel seamlessly from the south of Portugal or Italy all the way to Finland. And Rail Baltica connects the European gauge railway with the Eurasian railway system. This also opens up the most exciting prospects in the north, with game-changing new routes being developed.
So the problem is that today we don't have the electrical and we have the other length of the railway. So we have to do the Rail Baltica, and to do that we have to acquire about 650 privately owned parcels in Estonia and twice as much in Lithuania and even more in Latvia. Firstly, we didn't have any laws about different alternatives to acquire the land. So at the beginning of the Rail Baltica project, the Estonian government and parliament decided that we need to make changes in the law about compensation possibilities and alternatives. So we now have some new financial compensation alternatives and also alternatives to acquire the land by exchanging the properties. and simple land consolidation and reallocation. And finally, the step we are really trying to avoid, but sometimes it is inevitable, and that is expropriation. So we met with landowners in 2016 to 2018. It was before we had the changes of the law, and we have tried to meet with about half of the private landowners. We collected their opinion, how they would like to have the compensation of acquired land. And you can see that about half of them wanted land for the compensation, and about quarter of the landowners wished compensation money. We started make the offers in 2018 in September, and to April 2021 we have had about 111, I think it was, the agreements, and 61% of them was in agreements that we compensated in money, and about 17% we compensated the loss of land in land, and about 22% we didn't have the answers at April. We have had the opportunity to come to take landowners' wish into account about 90% of the time, and about 10% of the time we didn't have the opportunity to take their opinion in account, and the reasons we couldn't take them into account were that about 56% of the times parcels for the exchange was not acceptable. They were valued differently. About 33% of the time the parcels were too small, and the motivation fee was more acceptable for the landowners, and about 11% of the times the timber was already cut, so we couldn't compensate in land. And of course, our first land consolidation project, we made it, you can see with the yellow, it is owner 1 land, and with the blue color is the land owned by owner 2 or used by owner 2, and with the red one it is state-owned land. So we reallocated. Yes, you can see here how the railway cuts the parcels. So we reallocated the state land to the railway, and the owner 1 land is one side of the railway, and owner 2 land is now on the other side of the railway.
In the Netherlands, we had also one project during a land consolidation project. It was in the southern part of the Netherlands, south of Rotterdam. And during this land consolidation project, also this railway was planned. So in decision of the Land Consolidation Commission, they decided to rearrange the land plan for allocation of the parcels. And about almost 80% of all owners and land was reallocated and used for this railway. And now we are going to see how it will be in the future.
So our conclusions were that the main landowners decided to choose money instead of compensation in land. It is conclusion so far. Maybe in future we have more compensations in land. The main reason is the option that now we have the motivation fee in the law, which is very profitable for small parcels. More than 20 years is passed since the land consultation in Estonia. So this is a good practice for us. The new railway has a direct and indirect impact on the land parcels and the use of the parcels. So further research is needed to learn more about the impact of the Rail Baltica on land use, land fragmentation, on abandoned land, less accessibility of the parcels, and the experiences with land consolidation. And of course, if you're interested more about that, you can read from our paper.
Thank you.
Aitäh.
Dank u wel.
Well, thank you, Relika and Jan. It's a very nice presentation. And I wasn't sure that you were doing it together, but you complemented each other very nicely. Well, we will have room for questions in the panel discussion. So for now, I would like to move on to the presentation of Jakub about legal confiscating based on zoning plan in Turkey. So Jakub, could you please share your screen?
Of course.
And when you have done so, I would like to request the technical moderator to also put the shared screen on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I shared it, if you see.
No, we do not see it yet, but we are, as I understood, we are depending on the technical moderator to put it on the screen.
Marai, I'm the technical moderator as well during this session. So I tried to put it in full screen, but first of all, Jakub had to open it for itself fully and to use the share. And if it will not work, then
I am sharing it just now.
Let's see. Okay, look.
Now?
No.
What is the problem? I don't understand anything.
No.
I'm cutting it.
Maybe I can see it now.
I'm trying to do it again, please.
I'm sorry. Try it again.
I did it again. I hope you are seeing.
So when you have selected the document you would like to share, then you have to press again the share button. So it will really then be visible for the technical support.
In my opinion, I succeeded to share my screen, but I cannot understand anything.
No.
What is the problem? If you help me, I will appreciate.
Yeah, I think the best way is I can't help you as moderator from this place. I think you have to ask to the help desk to help you further to open it. I'm sorry to say about it. I can't change this for you because I have no access to your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, Jakub, you can also send the presentation to me in the meantime by email, and then I suggest to continue now to the next presentation, which is Semra, about 40 years evaluation of the capital cities transformation according to the Sustainable Development Goals, and it's about the city of Ankara. if I'm right, Semra. So please, you're still muted. Yes, the floor is yours.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you have been sharing your screen before, right, or not? In the Young Surveyors Network session.
Do you see it?
Not yet.
Yes, no, sorry.
Yes.
Is it coming?
Yes. Yes.
And now full screen, please.
Mm-hmm. Is it okay now?
It will come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You clicked the right button. We all saw it, so.
Okay. Now is it okay?
I don't see it in presentation mode yet.
No, you have to do it in the presentation mode.
I made it in presentation mode now.
Try it again.
Okay. I did it again.
Oh, it is not still. It is still in the.
Oh, we saw you click the button, so it should be changing.
Yes.
But... Well, otherwise we should just start now and see how it goes. Apparently, it's relatively slow, the connection.
Yeah.
Can you see it when I change it?
No.
Can you see it?
No, I'm sorry. It is said that you have to re-share your screen and select screen it is presenting, then in rather the screen, and it's not in PowerPoint. So
okay, I will stop it and then try it again.
Try it again. Yeah.
Okay.
Just first open fully your PowerPoint so that it's ready, and then share your screen.
Yes, it is open already, so I will once again.
Yeah, I added new.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, we see it, but still it is not in full screen.
I made it full screen, to be honest, but is it changing now?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, then we do it this way. It's changing to the next slide.
Can you see it?
Yes, we do see your presentation. It's still not in presentation mode, but otherwise I suggest to just have the presentation as is now, because we do see that you switch from slide to slide. So,
can you see the pages are changing?
Yes, it's now on the second. Well, we saw it changing from the first slide to the second slide. It's now on the second slide.
Okay, so let's go back very shortly. I'm Demre Şahinkaya, and I prepared our paper with my professor Jeffrey Payne from UK, and it's on the evaluation of the capital cities, a capital cities transformation over 40 years in relation to sustainable development goals. And we will be doing that via the case study of Ankara, the capital city of Turkey. So this is the location of Ankara. It was just a small town a century ago, but then it grown, and it had a rapid urbanization process, and it still has some challenges. So our paper is based on evaluating Ankara's current situation concerning the SDGs, selected ones, via a reference study, a research study that was undertaken by my professor Jeffrey Payne in Ankara in the 70s. So with this update before and after study, we will try to show what was changed over these 40 years in Ankara regarding selected SDGs. So the first SDG is no poverty. As we might all know, the poverty might mean many things, but there are some indicators of poverty, of course. So the UN describes poverty as in relative and absolute terms. So in relative terms, we understand that the need for meeting basic needs such as food, heating, clothing, and shelter, but relative poverty is much more related to the economical status. And also, World Bank says that extreme poverty, what the extreme poverty is, and it means that living on less than $1.90 per day per person. So it is also aimed at be ended by the end of 2030. So how is the situation in Ankara or in Turkey? Let's have a look. To understand the poverty issues better, I tried to sort out the parameters. So GNP, the gross national product, is one of the most valuable indicators that shows the economic situation in the country. So in Turkey in the 1960s, the value is around $6,000 per year per person, almost 60 years ago. But now it's around $13,000 on average for Turkey. So as a representative, as a capital city of Turkey, Ankara has a very similar value on that parameter. So we can say that this improved over the years. And there are also some other indicators of poverty. So UN also accepts the slum area as an indicator of poverty. And in Turkey, we have a specific name for it, gecekondu. Gecekondu means that people are coming from the other cities. They are basically migrated to the bigger cities, it means, and then find a public place, and then they make their shelters over at night. And then they could solve their housing problem. And in Payne's study, it was described as covering all the informal or unauthorized housing processes that landed by night in the country. And this was gecekondu. And but if we reconsider about the situation, this was the only way for the urban poor who migrated from the rural areas to bigger cities in the 70s, and it was the only way out for them to meet their urgent housing needs, because when they had moved to bigger cities, they didn't have any shelter or any housing, and so they had to sort it out as soon as possible. So it happened overnight. If we check out the numbers, in the 70s, we see that around 3.5 million people were living in gecekondus in Turkey. So the total population of the country was around 13 million, so which is quite a big amount. And also for Ankara, if we look at the statistics for Ankara, 60% of the population were living in slums in gecekondu areas in the 70s as well. But then what happened with the urban regeneration projects, with the urban transformation projects, since 2000, the areas had been demolished, and then new housing areas were started to build. So this is something positive, we could say. So I used some of the black and white pictures from Jeffrey Payne's reference study in the 70s. So I visited the same places on the field in Ankara. So we would see the differences, at least the physical differences on housing in the areas. So the poverty and the housing problem has improved over these years, we could say that. And decent work and economic growth. And as we would guess, it's about informal employment and gender pay gap. And in the 50s, Turkey was known as an agrarian country, which means that all the facilities are based on the agricultural population, and then people were living in rural areas. But now the situation is reversed, and then 75% of the population of Turkey, they are living in urban areas now. And the sectoral distribution was based on agriculture in the 70s, and approximately 1/4 of the employees only skilled in that time, and also the women couldn't participate to labor force, and the rates were very less as you will see from the statistics here. And but how is the situation now? So the participation in labor force in Turkey and in Ankara has improved for females, but it's still not enough. So there is still a need for providing gender equality in working system of Ankara and also in the country. So we see the sectoral distribution in Ankara lately, and we see that it's based on services. So that might give the investors a hint that this sort of sector service-based investments would be done for the future to increase the number of participation in labor force for females.
Semra, may I please interrupt? We still see only the second slide of your presentation, and I assume, yes, now it's on slide 10.
Really? I've been changing it.
Yes, I think it was just not refreshing in our stream. Well, now it's on the 10th slide. I just indicated so the people are also updated.
Okay.
Please continue. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, sorry for that. So yeah, can you see my 10th slide?
Yes, we now see the 10th slide, the Ankara project and reflections from the study. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So the SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, as we would know, over 1 billion people are living in slums, and this is an urgent issue that should be sorted out. And there were some similar challenges in Ankara as well over the last century or over the last 40 years. So if you look at the growth of the city over the last century, we've seen that Ankara's borders have grown 30 times more in the last century. And also the population of Ankara went up almost 73 times. These numbers are enormous, and it could be difficult for any of the city in the world, I believe, to handle it. So when we are elaborating this urbanization process of the city, we should also consider about these numbers. That's why I wanted to add, and then to be more realistic, to be honest. And there is also a SWOT analysis that was lately done by UN. And in the analysis, ongoing rapid urbanization process and urban transformation projects are seen as the strongest points of Turkey in order to reach the SDG 11 to sustainable cities and communities. But Turkey has no nationwide strategy or plan settled yet in order to meet this SDG yet. And also there is still a need for large-scale integrated plan. And also there are some other challenges such as employment, migration issues, and also recycling and environmental problems. So these were indicated as the main critical points of the country and the city in the report. So this is so far what we could gathered. And as conclusion, in this study we try to elaborate these selected SDGs to create a basis to understand how it was changed from the past, and also we could also see that this sort of rapid urbanization process could be difficult for any country in the world. So Ankara has become a successful representative of country and improved its profile over these last 40 years, but it could have been more, or it should be more for the future, of course. And also any improvements in one of the SDGs would be improving the others or boosting the others for sure. So this is in interaction, we could say. And also the regulations could be better for the country and for Ankara as well. So maybe with a more participatory approach could help to create better and applicable planning for Ankara to reach these SDGs and to create a more sustainable city, of course. And lastly, Turkey can make a step on environmental issues, on the other hand, because we still need it. So maybe it could be possible to make it via many serious climate actions, or creating new environmentally friendly policies nationwide, and also for the city scale. That would be helping to improvement of the city. These are the sources, and thank you. So you could see, I hope you would see the little one in the picture in the middle. So it should be familiar for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Semra. Well, I think the topic is very interesting for the broader FIG community, as you mentioned already. I think urbanization is a very, well, most countries face rapid urbanization and struggle how to deal with this from a spatial planning perspective. So we will come back to that later also in the panel discussion. So many thanks for now for your presentation. And then we will proceed to the next presentation. I have received in the meantime the presentation from Jakob. So now I will try to share my screen and see if it works. And now I'm stuck, of course, at the same time, because there's no other button I could press, but it should be loading. Oh, it's the wrong one. Let me check. That's weird, because I selected the right one. Yeah, I selected the PDF, and apparently it's showing another screen. Yes, here it is. Okay, I would like to invite you, Jakob, to present, and please indicate when I have to move to the next slide, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I am very sorry for interrupting the flow. Legal confiscating based on zoning plan in Turkey. I am trying to explain my opinion related to my colleagues. Please forward. The concept of the slide is story of the towards an article, from presentation to article. The problem definition, aim of the study, conceptualization, conclusions. After the FIG 2019, we know, all of us know, was cancelled because of the coronavirus situation, and then our team decided to transfer our presentation into a research article. Then we succeeded and shared it to land use policy, and it has been published. Then I prepared the presentation between the mixture of presentation and paper all together. Next, please. One of the most important violated rights is the right of ownership, as known. The most common violation is the process of legal confiscation without expropriation or legal purchase. These kinds of violations are often the issue in Turkish courts as well as in international courts. In Turkey, zoning implementation techniques divided into two parts. One of them is mandatory application by public authorities, and then other voluntary applications by owners. Mandatory applications divided into three sections. First of all, land readjustment, the other expropriation, and then the last one is urban transformation, related to different rules in Turkey. The voluntary application is divided into two parts: voluntary implementation based on zoning law, but it is very, very hard to implement these sections because new amendment put into practice 2 years ago. And second one, in the voluntary applications, urban transformation, based on 6306 law. And at the end of the process, registration on the land registry is a compulsory application in Turkey. Next, please. Legal confiscation of property in Turkey can be explained in this figure because compulsory application, if applied by government or municipality, all kind of park, police station, road have been created by public authorities. Otherwise, some parcels put into the police station, park, and road can claim that there is a legal confiscation. This is a problem. Partially implemented zoning plan. Next, please. Our aim in this study, the claims and proofs legal confiscation are discussed along with the related process to create, conceptualize some flowchart and to explain the process according to the European Union Court Human Rights. And this study aims to develop proposals for eliminating the problem of legal confiscation. In Turkey, there is a lot of type of land. We put some of them into the row C. Impossible legal confiscation is mentioned in the C, such as forest, coastal area, river, pasture, lake, road, bridge area. It is only possible, especially cadastral parcels, if owned by private ownership. Otherwise, it is impossible to claim that there is a legal confiscation. There is a relationship between planning, hierarchy, and legal confiscation in Turkey. And regional planning, you know, it is unscaled and abstract plan. It is impossible to claim that legal confiscation based on regional planning. In the Q, it is only possible one plan that is named implementary zoning plan with 1000 scale. If there is an implementary zoning plan, a private ownership can claim that on the judge, on the court, there is a confiscation. Next, please. Some facilities, if you have some parcel interactive with some facilities in the zoning plan, you can claim that there is a legal confiscation. We can put them all together into a conceptualized scheme. You can see a lot of different functions in the plan. If you have one of them, you can claim that there is a legal confiscation. And we organize these flowcharts related to legal confiscation and express the situation to the academic platform. If there is a land, is there implementary zoning plan or not? If there is an implementary zoning plan, what is the zoning status? Public area and building plot or trade facility. If your cadastral parcel interact with public areas, you cannot claim that there is a legal confiscation. Has the zoning plan been implemented? Accusation of the information related to zoning implementation and administrative process. There is a different selection which can be selected by public authorities, mainly municipalities. One of them is expropriation, the other is land readjustment, the other is exchange, maybe purchase. If municipality or spatial administration or other institutional bodies don't choose to apply one of them, you can claim that there is a legal confiscation and you may go to court to open a file suit. Next, please. The conclusion section, the problem of legal confiscation could be minimized by application of the land readjustment method all over the country within a specified period after the implementation zoning plans come into force. Some examples of possible solutions for the problem can include granting each immovable property a specific right of zoning, regardless of the function in the zoning plan, transferring of zoning rights, and issuing of certificates for protected areas, like transfer of development rights, but there is no legal rules in Turkey to implement this kind of application. Besides, an alternative to expropriation might be considered, such as land banking, which consists of immovable properties within the public property in planning zone. Like in United States, it is applicable, but Turkey, it is not applicable now. In the conclusion, taking the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights into account, it is inevitable that planning concept and its efforts on private property should be developed more practical and reasonably in order to ensure the achievement of reasonable levels of sustainability for urban settlements. All in all, in Turkey, after the presentation and our article, there has been a new law put into practice. After the 5 years, we hope there will be no problem related to our presentation. Thanks for your interest and time. If you have a problem, I can answer as well as I do.
Yes, thank you, Jakub. I was struggling to unmute myself because the mouse was stuck on my other screen. Well, it's interesting, this study, and also your recommendation about land banking, and just also for the participants in this session. Tomorrow we will have a FAO session dedicated to land banking, which relates to this topic, I would say. Because of the time, I would like to proceed to the last presentation by Miroslav Belej. I hope I pronounced your name correct. Oh, and I should first stop my own my presentation, sharing my screen. So Miroslav, please, the floor is yours, and I hope you can share your presentation. If not, I know now how it works, so otherwise I can do it on behalf of you. Well, there it is. Excellent. And please keep an eye on the time because we are running late, so try to keep it as short as possible, so we will have some time for discussion in the panel.
Okay, good morning, but tell me, do you see the full presentation now?
We don't see it in presentation mode. Okay. It's the same as with Semre, so please try to click on the left-hand side each individual slide. So then select the second slide on the left, you know, so then it will work, I assume. Yeah.
It would be better to use the full presentation, but I'll try to do this one more time.
Well, my assumption is that you have to select, if you share your screen, that you do not have to select your full screen, but just like the window of the PowerPoint.
Yes, okay.
And then it might work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one more time. Okay. It should work now. Do you see the screen?
No, it's not going to presentation mode. I'm not sure what's wrong. It's apparently a technical. Oh, okay. Perhaps you should close hop in then. If you, well, just try it and just do it like you had. And I apologize for the inconvenience.
Okay, one more time. Share screen, share PowerPoint. And
yes,
I hope that you see now.
Yes, we do see your shared screen.
I will try to use the full mode. It should work now. I hope so.
Well, we don't see it, so try to select the slides individually on the left-hand side in your PowerPoint window.
Okay, so leave it. Do the old school. It's okay?
I don't see. Oh, well, now it's loading. Yeah, just do it this way. Yeah.
Okay, I will do this way without changing. And please tell me, is the slide is changed?
Yes, if you do it like this, selecting the slides in the left hand, like you do now, then it's perfectly
okay,
visible.
so I will do by my own without your help. Dear conference participants, my name is Mirosław Bełej, and together with my co-authors Agnieszka Szczepańska and Adam Sedmetra, I would like to present our study. Integrated land and water management illustrated with an example of the recreational function of the city. We are from University of Warmia-Mazury in Olsztyn, so the city from the title, it will be Olsztyn, of course. And I think everyone will agree that mountains and water, lakes, rivers and seas are the essential part of many world's most popular tourist places. So tourism based on inland water resources is a strong impulse for social and economic development. It gives an increase of income from economic tourist activities. It gave increase in the inhabitants' standard of living and increase in the possibilities of recreational activities for residents and visitors. And of course, an increase in environmental care in society. So that's why the aim of this paper is to present the quantitative and qualitative effects of the measures taken by the Olsztyn city authorities as a part of the integrated management of water resources. I strongly believe that we can call our city blue and green. As you can see on this blue map, there's really a lot of lakes. There is 11 lakes with the area of these lakes over 700 hectares and 200 of small size water bodies and 3 rivers. And from the other side, on the land use map, you can see there is really a lot of green areas. So we have really a lot of forests, green parks, green squares, street greeneries, and housing estate green areas. And I really believe that you can believe me that this is a really good place for living. And in addition, in this town, there is not much industry. Okay. And as you can see on this diagram, the blue and green resources, there's more than 30% of the city area. This provides incredible potential for the development of recreational and tourism functions. And in the first stage of the analysis, we was finding and reading the strategic and planning documents of the city authorities related to the water management, and which one you can see here. And for example, there are 2 of them. The first one is development strategy for the Olsztyn, and this document indicates natural assets, the Lake Ukiel shores, the Winner River Valley, and municipal forest complex, and 11 lakes, of course. The second one, the study of determinants and directions of the spatial development of Holstein, it indicates the following directions for the development of the urban space in the context of the existing water resources. So, as you can see here, there is a lot of inside this document ideas about the walking and cycling links between Wina River and all the city. There is the ideas about the kayak and the sailing marinas. There's the need for building beaches and sport grounds, and many others, and especially bicycle lines and pedestrian pathways near the lake, near the forest, through the forest. And the second part of our analysis, it was the analysis of the water resources in Holstein. Basic information is shown on the table. You don't see much now, but I will tell you without this full mode, I hope that it will work. And this one, lake which you don't see at all, this is the Ukel, the largest and the deepest lake in Holstein. It's more than 400 hectares. And I will say more about this in the next slide. The second one on the left, it is a Kortowskie lake. This lake is situated in a university campus. And this campus is really great for our students because in this campus we have got one lake, a lot of forests and old parks, and we have got a small hill for winter activities and the best place for music concert, to sitting and watching downstairs the concert. There's a great sound there. The next one in the middle, this is some kind of wild lake. It calls Track, and it's near some industrial zones with a lot of warehouses. And this is a really good place for fishing. Next one, it's a Skanda Lake. This lake is a lake where the second municipality beach is creating due these decisions of local authorities. By the way, the next 100 meters from this municipal beach, there is an independent beach and without really any control of the local authority. And the last one, I show you only this one here. It's Długie. I can translate it, and I think that you believe it is okay. Long lake, and this place is really good for walking and running and resting. Local authorities built here a small bridge, and around this lake there is a path for bikes, for running and for walking. And this lake is about 5 minutes by walking from the old town, from the city center. So you can fully rest to see the old town, and after 5 minutes you can be in the forest near the lake, and you can rest here. As you can see on this old picture, around the lakes there is a lot of greenery. There are forests, or there are some places for rural areas, and of course individual houses. And as I told you, this is the analysis in the paper about the potential of this largest lake, and the city authorities have built a lot of recreational infrastructure here. And this is a beach volleyball courts and volleyball hall. And we in Austin, we love volleyball even more, especially me, than football. And we can play in the summer, and you can we can play volleyball in the volleyball hall in the winter. Too. There are really a lot of playgrounds, walking promenades, cycling lines, squash courts, games, sports equipment and rental facility. There are a kayaking center, and there are places for eating and for resting. There are two big, great hotels with the lake view and with the really good restaurants. And on the end of this small analysis, we was trying to find the impact of the COVID pandemic on the public activity of the Ukiel Lake area. As you can see here, the numbers of visits through through last years, and COVID started in Poland in February, and you can see the deep decrease of the amount of people. But today in Olsztyn there is a great weather. There's 33 degrees, and there's really, I've been there yesterday, and there's really a lot of people on this beach, on the promenades. And I can say that local authority, there's a good connection between the city center and this lake. This is good infrastructure for visitors and for locals. From the city centers, there are private buses without roof, so you can buy ice cream, and in 5 minutes with these private buses you can go through the city and be near the lake and walk this beautiful promenade. So there's a lot of activities to do in this area. We are really thinking about the places for bicycle, for active activities, for active resting. And the main general conclusions. Olsztyn as a blue and green city with a minimum of industry is unique compared to the rest of Poland. Local authorities have invested in tourist infrastructure few years ago, near the river, near the lakes, and in the forest there are small walking paths. So this gives the great opportunity to use this recreational potential of Olsztyn. As I told you before, there's a lot of lakes, rivers and forests, and this is very important. It creates jobs and improves the quality of life. So over the past years, the tourism has been the fastest growing branch of the Olsztyn economy. Of course, we are building some infrastructure, but there's really a lot of wild forest, lakes, and places to live in this town. And we think really about the environmental, and to not do wrong with these natural places. And thank you very much. And of course, I invite you to Olsztyn. That's all.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Miroslav. And well, we just heard yesterday in the General Assembly that next year the Congress will be in Poland. I'm not sure how close the town is to Warsaw, but perhaps we can extend our stay with a short holiday and visit Olsztyn.
Yes, it's 2 hours by car.
Okay. Well, then, well, I'm not sure if everyone will manage to visit, but I keep an eye on the time. We started late. I'm not sure when this session will be cut off. So we have actually only 2 minutes before the session should end in the program. So that's why I now would like to at least announce or let you know and share that we will have Meet Anybody's session. I'm not sure how it is called, but there's half an hour extension of this session that will be hosted in Hopin. So I propose the questions that we cannot discuss now, that we can discuss them in the Hopin session. Then we have to move to the other one. You can find the link and also in the Hopin in the session part of the application. Oh, we do have some more time. That's what I get now. Then I will just proceed now to the questions, and it's slightly different than what we prepared. But I think I will first start with a question addressed to the presentation of Walter about the 8R framework. There's a question: is there any hierarchy of the 8R components based on the time frame, so short term or long term? And also the degree of responsible land management.
Yeah, that's. I like the question because, and maybe a good question for a next paper, but I guess it was not evaluated in this paper in itself. But you can imagine that if we look, for example, to those 8 aspects, that certain aspects can be evaluated in the short term immediately, whereas other aspects can be need to be evaluated in the long term. Let me just point to 2 examples. Recognition that addresses the question: can people identify with the decision in itself? Is there ownership of the project? We've seen that in a lot of those big projects, many citizens can actually identify with it. They are proud of it, or they feel part of it, or they don't feel part of it. So that is something that you can assess quite quickly. And the same is for respect, for example. If it's a major project where there's a symbolic meaning, for example, a bridge between 2 countries or between 2 parts of the country, then it has a lot of respect and people really follow that up. And that is something that if you trace that back, you can identify. On the other hand, things like reliability and retraceability. Retraceability is the element of, can all the steps with which the project was undertaken and all the decisions were actually constructed, are these sufficiently documented? That is often something that you find out afterwards. Direct insight in the decisions itself are often not possible in the course of the project execution. So that is something that really is more long-term. And the related question was, is there a hierarchy in the degree of responsibility or responsiveness? I think the question is more to me, or the interesting thing is more to me, which element or which aspect of responsible management needs improvement, rather than a quantitative assessment. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, is this a 7 or an 8 or a 6 or maybe a 4? Obviously, that is an indicator of where it is more or less responsible. But the question is more, or the interesting thing for me is more, this particular aspect of responsiveness, of reflexivity, of retraceability, this is where it needs some sort of improvement. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to tell about this topic, because I also think some R's do have some synonyms in spatial planning, like retraceability could perhaps also be replaced by transparency. That's also a term I often see in literature, and that where decisions come from, which argumentation has been used, etc. So, but yeah, for time reasons, I would like to now merge some other questions to Relika Peak about the Rail Baltica. There's 2 questions, one from the participants, and this is, was mandatory expropriation used? Or was mandatory land consolidation used? And the other one is how long the land acquisition procedure or expropriation did take. So Renika, could you please answer these questions, and please keep it short because I have also some other questions for Semre.
Okay. Mandatory expropriation, we have now voluntarily acquired about 200 parcels, and one owner owned 2 parcels which we needed to mandatory expropriate. So there is one expropriation since the beginning of project. Mandatory land consolidation is not used in Estonia. It's not in law. Voluntary land consolidation, we have made about 30 cases. And about the expropriation procedure, since the expropriation decision was taken into court, so we don't know right now how long the expropriation will take. But if we argue in all 3 courts, then I think it's about 2 to 3 years.
Okay, yes. Yeah, expropriation takes quite a long time. I know from the Netherlands it's about 16 months by heart, 1.5 years before, the decision to start expropriation procedure and really having the court verdict that land is expropriated. But good to hear that there's not so many expropriation, that you managed to get most land by on a voluntary basis. I think that's really a good achievement for the Rail Baltica and the project. Well, let's move on to the last question. This one is to Semre, and there's one short question: is there similar data available to other major cities? Because you explained, of course, for Ankara. And also, I assume it's for you, Semre. What happens to the slum dwellers? Did they get any offer for new housing?
It's a unique cohort study that I used from Jeffrey's knowledge, and he generously shared it with me because he never published it. But I'm afraid we do not have this sort of studies that often made in 50 years ago in Turkey. For the slum areas, yes, after the urban regeneration processes, they made a contract with the investors or with the municipality, so they could receive 1 or 2 flats instead of their gecekondu or slum areas. So they gave the land back, and then they received 1 or 2 flats instead of this as a compromise.
Yes, yes. I'm not sure if Jeffrey Payne would also like to complement with it, because I also understood that he has also done part of the study or was involved.
Thank you very much, Marie. Yes, Gemma has done a lot of work to follow up the study that I did in the 1970s, which showed how people migrating into the city occupied mainly public land and applied the principles of the Ottoman Land Act of 1858, which enabled any citizen to bring dead land to life. And that enabled the city to absorb many, many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on a cost-effective basis. And eventually, a lot of those land plots were amalgamated, as Gemma said, by developers negotiating with groups of settlers to acquire their properties or their land and replace the buildings with apartment blocks on a layout prepared by the local authority. So all the local authority did was to subdivide the land. Since we're talking about spatial planning, that was the role of the local authority. They had no money effectively to organize things in a formal way, but everybody benefited. The developers made enough money from the schemes because they didn't have to pay for the land. The residents, the settlers, got 2, sometimes 3 apartments in the new scheme, so they became quite happy to join the middle income groups. And the city got taxes and planned development over time. What's happened since, we find, is that the Toki development company has formalized this whole process. We weren't able in the study that Gemma did recently to see to what extent that formalized approach has enabled the latest generation of migrants to obtain access to land and housing on the same acceptable terms. That may be something if Gemma was able to get the funding to investigate. And I think that would be a very interesting chance to undertake a longitudinal study of the changing approaches in options for obtaining land services and housing that low-income migrants into urban areas have. There's not enough longitudinal studies of cities, in my view. David Sims's study of Cairo is excellent, but there's not enough of these sort of studies. And if funding were available, and here is a plea for funding agencies to look sympathetically at this idea, Gemma would like to undertake an expansion and update of the work I did in the 70s, which I couldn't expand or publish because I was too busy on other things. But I do think this could be the basis of a very interesting study and maybe linked to other cities where people have got the material to enable a younger generation of professionals and academics to update studies done many years ago. Just while I've got the microphone, if I may, I think the idea that was mentioned by Jakub on land readjustment is a very, very interesting idea. And it does enable the landowners to maintain an interest and a stake in an area, offsetting the loss of actual physical area of land with increased value of the land that they do retain. And that is something which I think has a very, very great degree of validity, although it does invariably need a legal framework to be implemented. And finally, very quick comment. I think the project by Miroslav on the land and water management and the recreational functions of the city is also very, very interesting. I do think, though, it needs to address issues of potential increased use of the water and the potential risk of pollution. And I would like to think also that it wouldn't just be humans that benefit from the accessibility to the areas around the lake and maybe on the lake. So I think that we need to look at this in the broader environmental context of increasing use of amenities, environmental amenities, not just for public benefit, but also for the wider natural world in which we are privileged to live. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Professor Jeffrey Payne. I should thank you because this actually is a very nice wrap-up of this session. And I fully agree with you with the plea for, well, more research about, well, actually land readjustment or urban regeneration, because I think, well, it's a very delicate balance between the different interests that play a role in such processes. And of course, I also agree with your plea for sustainable development, and that also in rural areas with recreational development well, are really important, and you can combine certain land uses and land values, so both the recreational function but also the environmental function of such areas. So there's a combined value with different land uses in such regions. So for now, with an eye on the time, we are running a little bit late. We also started a little bit late.
If I may, Marie, I just have one more observation on one of the other presentations, and that's the one on the Estonia board for land acquisition for the train project. The whole development of Navi Mumbai, the extension to Mumbai in India, was actually financed, the infrastructure, the transport and the train system was financed by selling the rights to land adjacent to and above the railway stations. And I just wonder if that might be also an option for financing the land acquisition for the Estonia and related Latvia regions for that very interesting railway project. Just a thought.
I'm sorry, I have to unmute myself. Well, we consider that, and I think especially Relika Pik from Estonia will consider this, because I have no authority in this respect. For now, I would like to thank all the presenters, and also, well, we had to face some technical hiccups, but I'm glad, well, we managed to, in the end, to give all the presentations. And I would like to also thank the audience for sharing their questions with us. And for now, I would like to invite you to the Ask Me Anything session, which is scheduled in Hopin. So we can switch sessions, and there we can also continue the discussion. And then also participants to the session can take the stage and have some further discussion and dialogue. And I also invite you as presenters, of course, to be present and be there and switch to the Hop-in session, so that we can further discuss in an informal way with the participants who attended this session. So for now, I would like to close the session and hope to see you in the Ask Me Anything session. You can find the link in the Hop-in and also in the email that you received. So hope to see you there. And thank you again for your presentation. And also thank you for the audience for participating and watching this stage.